with all of that out the way, with the impetus for diving back into the past fading away, thank you all for being here.
Yay for making it to Friday.
It's entirely. Friday is a. Every chance we get to play is a beautiful thing, but Friday is Friday. It's TGIF, TGI, well, done with work and all of that. It's a very good thing. Thank you all again. You guys get tired of me expressing how very vital your activity, investment, involvement, and intelligent imagination are, but there is no shortage. There's no value I can place on that would be a fair and equitable trade. You all being here and sharing this world and this game and just the opportunity of play is irreplaceably, mortally valuable. Thank you. And for those in the back who didn't hear it the first time, second, or third, this is officially, without a shadow of a doubt, lost wages and second chances. This is our Las Vegas Chronicle of the Damned. This is our opportunity to sidestep our world and slip into the skin of these undead monsters. It is without a shadow of a doubt a dark place where even the best of intentions has the worst of ends. So in short, like our world, but just slightly darker. The decisions and choices that these characters make are a little more transparent in what happens next. That great age-old question of, and then, and if so. So before we dive in, immersing ourselves in the vitality and lack thereof of these undead monsters, do we have any questions?
Let's recap where we left off, I guess. We went to what's his name's tasting place to sample the goods, and that was where we left off, I think.
Yes, you all were at Dude Vladatel's tasting center, one of his juice shops that supply much of what happens in Las Vegas. It is one of the darker aspects of Kindred Society, which is saying a lot. Because the national circulatory system is heedless to concern and care about any of those living beings they traffic. The national circulatory system is modern system of slavery, human trafficking, and other darker things. They involve themselves in the growth, manipulation, and occasionally husbandry of humans to achieve a certain result for particular palates. The local systems, the local blood trades, are that plus more. Because at least at the national level, there could be some general uncaring disconsideration because they are not in any particular locale. They don't live there. They don't exist there. They didn't live there and they didn't exist nor die there. So for them, it is all a tertiary consideration, the beings that live in those cities. The beings that have made their home, their family, their hearth for generations in that city. There's a bit of a distance for the national system. There's no distance for local blood trades, blood vendors, and the like. They exist and have existed in the cities where they operate. They have an opportunity of being inside the zoo's walls. They know the beasties, the kind about them. They know their lives. They know their deaths. They know their stories, their foibles, their fantasies, and their failings. They're right up close, inhaling the vibrant scent of life around them. And yet they still engage in trafficking, mutilation, predation. Some with a sense of ethics and morality. Oh, well, we won't touch the kids, we won't touch the women, we won't blah, 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 so forth and so on. So many superficial steps of what's moral and what's ethical. And then there are others. If they have blood, they're simply a vessel of delivery. They, the former humans the kindred ones were, nothing more than walking juice bottles. So, as you all were leaving Dude Vladadel's juice shop, while not cognizantly conscious of those considerations, it very much is that for you all. Some of you in the tasting, having seen faces, names, smells of individuals you knew. Others of you, well, taste great, less filling. Open teeth, past the gums, look out stomach, here it comes. And yet, even without knowing some of the donors, even without having consideration of those donors having lives out there in the night before this moment, it is still something that crawls around the back of the mind. Consideration. While choices are made to look away for the most part, some of you don't have that opportunity. Some of you don't have the chance of not staring into the face of all of that horror. Which brings us to where we are now. Any other question? Any details or synopses you'd like to make apparent, transparent for everyone?
Fancy kind of leans to the other two. Look, he said he had the gun, so that meant he was in charge. I think he might have the same sort of deal with these others. I'm not saying we should trust them. I'm not saying we should tell them everything, but I think maybe some allies would be helpful. And then she lowers her voice even further, or at the very least, somebody else to throw under the bus. Right? And stands back up to look at the other two.
Well, I mean, he seems like the kind of guy who's got his share of enemies, so I mean, finding people who want to get out from under him, there's not going to be that hard, I would imagine, but at the same time, we really want to rock the boat when he's kind of the best line we've got on getting the Gruja going.
I'm not trying to rock the boat, I'm trying to steer the boat to a little safer water. Again, I'm not saying hey, wanna fuck this guy over or whatever, or something like that, but it's more like the friend of my friend is the enemy and my enemy is my friend, that guy.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, but right now he does have the gun, and I don't particularly want to be shot.
That's not my plan or thoughts either. I don't want to put any of our lives on the line, especially not mine. I am particularly attached to what I had and what I would go back to having if it weren't for all this bullshit. I'm just saying, you don't get a second chance for a first impression. Maybe we learn their names at least. So she
I
turns
mean,
towards.
I'm not.
I pausing to listen to Lita.
I mean, I'm not going to stop you. I'm just saying that, you know, making a sudden move is probably more dangerous than making a well thought out one.
Noted. And she puts on her biggest, most car salesman like smile and kind of calls across to the others. Nice out tonight. Lovely stars.
No expectation of coolness that's acceptable. Everyone believes they're both cooler than and less cool than everyone else around them. That same spotlight syndrome, that same main stage persists into death. It persists age. The usual response is some bit of snobbery, so that one can feel secure in themselves at the expense of others. Or at least usually that's the case. It's the reason for all of the private secret societies, the cliques, the coteries, the bloodlines, the cults that abound in kindred society. One looking for a place to belong and ensure someone else does not have that self same place. It's a vicious dog eat dog world. It's an even more vicious dog eat dog and continue eating themselves world for kindred. However, as you clumsily, indirectly, and very, very bluntly attempt to make a greeting, a hail, hearty something, you are in fact successful. The one of the group of individuals, because again, there were two vehicles that pulled up as you all were leaving, and out of them came several kindred, clearly. But the nearest ones who pause and look towards you, gentleman in a fedora hat that's half a size too small across the cap of it. The other gentleman, long, stringy, black hair, looks as if he has seen much better days, but dresses relatively well. And in their midst is a slightly stooped, frail looking older woman dressed in very slouchy, pieced together, very layered, gypsy-esque, hipster-esque attire. And in her arm is a shaking, twitching, small ankle biter of a chihuahua that's patchy, and one portion of its head, its fur and pelt is gray and the other part is black, and then there's brown across the muzzle, and in certain portions across the body it's seemingly a long haired chihuahua, and in other portions of the body it seems as if it's a short haired chihuahua, and in another part of the body it looks as if it's a no hair chihuahua, and it's big googly eyes and its shaking body stares at you as if it can see into your soul. While the other group of individuals continue moving on in, that trio, that threesome, that thruple of misplaced haute couture individuals smile. And the slightly frail woman in the slouchy clothing turns as if drawn like a magnet towards you all. Her jowly, wrinkled skin somehow containing an air of austerity, as from a different time, as if she has an elegance that you just can't quite understand. And she begins making her way towards you all.
Fancy has used this time in which she's coming over after shivering about the creepy dog, to get her shit together in her head so that she doesn't say anything else relatively fumbly or stupid, hopefully, and kind of meets her in the middle so that she doesn't have to come all the way over here in case the others are uncomfortable with her getting closer. So she just kind of meets her in the middle.
Wow, this is interesting indeed. Hi.
Good evening. We were just leaving, but I saw another lovely group of people in a similar vein as ourselves and decided that friendliness would not be amiss. So, good evening to you.
Yes, good evening. Who are your friends? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Victoria Louise, and this lovely fellow, as she motions as she absently begins stroking and petting the dog in her arms, is Grantham McLean, Esquire. Dr. Grantham McLean, Esquire. The first, the only. And I'm sure that you know Deli Slice and Hodgepodge here.
We are loosely familiar, yes. Good evening, Deli Slice.
Yo.
Hey, Hodgepodge.
Well, we will not keep you any further. My name is Fancy Fisher of Fisher Academy, and I'll let the others introduce themselves should they wish before we get back on our way so that we do not interrupt the rest of your evening.
Oh, you are a reprieve of sorts, I suppose. Well, I suppose we should go in and kiss Vladatel's ass. It's nice seeing you all here, I suppose. She turns and saunters her way back in. Those of the three of you all, do either of you all have a total of either intelligence or wits plus politics at 3 or better?
Maybe. Let me double check that.
Let me check. I might. What did you say it had to be?
Either intelligence or wits plus politics 3 or higher.
Yep.
Mine's currently 4.
My wits is at 3.
My intelligence is 4, but I don't have any politics.
What? Yeah, I
For
have
ver-
1. I have 1 in politics, and I have 3 wits.
Okay. So for various reasons and through various pathways of thought, logic, and understanding of human slash kindred nature, you realize that while you are still in the frying pan, someone turned up the heat. There is a discomfort people have when dealing outside of their social strata. That same thing applies to kindred. There is a reticence or guardedness in the vast majority of kindred people when dealing outside of their social strata or outside of their cipher, outside of their circle of friends, family, co-workers, that guy that's always at the coffee shop that every time you go there, no matter when you go, he's always sitting there writing his great American novella that no one's gonna fucking read, but he's always there so you recognize him when you pass. Or the bartender that you know she has no interest in you, but she's always there even when you go on your normal off night to the bar. So you notice her, you recognize her, you bring her into your circle of known faces. But outside of those, outside of the regular, the usual, the constant exposure, most kindred, most people have a reticence, have a disgust and fear. Especially when they're dealing down. They're dealing with someone who doesn't make as much, doesn't have as much, doesn't share the same value of life, is clearly having a moment that would need help and you don't want to help them. That discomfort is apparent every time it shows its head. You meet someone new, meet someone outside your circles, for various reasons. You all get to the understanding of whom Victoria Louise might be, or at least the echelon of kindred society she might be. There was a palpable disgust at the notion of feeding or sampling whatever Vladatel had for her, for them. There was that reticence and that discomfort when dealing down. And she did not seem to not know who Fancy was. So while you are still in the frying pan, the heat has turned up. Because you realize, for various reasons and through various pathways of logic and emotional understanding, that Victoria, Miss Louise, is clearly one of the kindred, close enough to the prince to consider themselves elevated above Ladatel and you. Those of politics know it's because she is in fact the orphan primogen. She's part of the prince's small council, i.e. she reported to the prince's right-hand man, the real prince of Las Vegas, Montrose, before his death. You all just met the orphan primogen of Las Vegas, who is clearly being manipulated or otherwise blackmailed by Vladatel.
Discord. With that mental recognition, Fancy just kind of smiles, but inside her head, she's like, fuck. This one I thought shit couldn't get any worse. But there's this. And she just kind of, yeah. Well, pleasure to have that. And we get in the car.
I mean, it doesn't really make our situation that much worse. We knew he was playing games with Tremere Primogen.
Yeah, but that one's not a Tremere as far as I'm aware. Actually, no, not really at all.
They're a similar station.
She considers herself far above this station, but she's kind of looking around because they're in the car by now and they're getting ready to go. But she lowers her voice. Very closely tied with the prince's second in command, which is no longer in existence. That level of closeness to the throne.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, but if he was willing to go after a Primogen, there's not a lot he wouldn't go after.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's my point. That's the point is if he has fallen in line somehow because he has something on her, what chance do we really have? I'm not going to give up. I'm not. But I'm just realizing how much more of a fight that it will be.
Well, you know, like I said, he's got the gun, and personally, I don't want to get shot.
Well, then we should probably get back to the hotel evening and figure out just how much of a fucking we're going to take and how much lube we're going to need to make it at least a little bit pleasant. Celeste, you know where the hotel we have taken over is, do you not?
I do. And as I value my life, we should go there sooner rather than later. Well, what's left of my life, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we are on our way back to the hotel.
As you do value your life, was there anything that a dude demanded of you besides just getting them there?
Imagine he's found a way of where I spend my pastimes at my home and threatened that as well.
Incidentally, yes. But was there any caveat he placed that were you supposed to report to him? Were you supposed to do anything along those lines?
He never specified.
He did not, did he? Did he assume, from what you remember, with such a happy, jolly, lucky sort of individual, was there any clear assumptions that he might have made?
If he did his research about me, he would know that I am not particular about who I drive.
Mm-hmm.
And he would use that to his advantage.
Is there any other natural or unnatural assumptions he might carry based on how you came to the life?
Well, considering I got turned into what I am because I overheard something I shouldn't have.
Hmm. So, is there any considerations you might have or carry any illusions you may need to dispel or prove?
I'm not sure what he would assume directly of me. But I would assume he would know that I follow orders while keeping secrets because of my clientele.
So as you drive them back to the hotel and those thoughts are considering, those thoughts are bounding around the inside of your skull, annoyingly refusing to allow you peace as you merge and meld with traffic, speeding and slowing as per the traffic allows. Oh, discerning are you, Fancy? How discerning are you in paying attention to your driver, Martha?
A little bit.
I'd be splitting my attention between making sure we weren't followed and then making sure she isn't getting lost. That's where my two focuses are. A little more towards making sure we aren't followed, though.
So Celeste's predisposition with the battle she's waging with her own sense of conscience and ethics slips by. It is solely a moment where her own individual sense of ethics is haranguing her, because the beast is a selfish thing. The beast only cares that it has the opportunity of forever, even if that forever means that it will be sitting alone in a cave as the last star's light dies out of the sky. There is a instinctual self-sufficiency that makes every other thing, living or not, expendable, so long as it gets the opportunity of continuing on no matter what. So all of those intrusive negative thoughts that you're able to shut out most times, has a life and a demand of its own. It demands food, pleasure, sustenance of all variety, mentally, physically, emotionally, and physically. It demands that it has the opportunity of forever, even if that forever is solely alone. It doesn't stop when common sense or a sense of community rears its head. It doesn't stop when all of the alarm bells are ringing. This is untrustworthy. This is bad. None of those alarm bells stops it. In fact, it feeds on those moments. In fact, it like every other addiction, is a selfish thing and turns what the world is doing into the reason for what it is doing. It lies and sneaks around the edges. It slips in when you're not paying attention. And one of those moments is now. Because the commonality of knowing, Celeste, what you do for a living and how you came to the land of the damned very much would mean that Vladitel would be expecting a certain amount of information. Vladitel would very much understand who and what you were perceived as. And he would very much assume that anything less than that would be a breach of contract. And here you guys are at the hotel. As you move into the parking lot, preparing to disembark from the vehicle, the promise of tomorrow sitting there on the horizon line, the sky lightening in that strange, all of a sudden way that lets that creeping, crawling dread that is the heart of every kindred begin to tremulate, beginning to tremor, beginning to fear. Because while it's still equally dark, the stars aren't twinkling as brightly nor fast as they once were. That small shift that is imperceptible to the human eye, but felt all the same, is happening there at the horizon line. The sun is not that far off.
As we get out of the car, feel free to pick a room in the upper floors this evening so that you might stay with us if you so choose. I know it's close to sunrise, but also just so that we're all covered, call your boss and at least let him know that we're at the hotel safely, seeing as how we were made your responsibility, and I'm sure he'd want to know that you followed through.
Seems a wise course of action, consider what we found out tonight. So I go and call Dude.
Be a switchboard where you could, if you had the right access code, reach out and touch a kid. But that's effectively what the mini phone fees and text group chats and WhatsApps actually are. The Camarilla stance against technology is literally unprosecutable if you're smart about it, or if you're just uncaring what the consequences might be. Luckily for most kindred, it's a why risk it? And so a certain amount of electronic interactions are necessary. So several quick dials through several phone trees and WhatsApp private chat groups and Google Talk and older technology, you find yourself reaching Vladitel himself. And the worst thing is, and this is the part that hurts your heart in ways that you can't quite put your finger on. You're talking to him, you're calling him, but you know for a fact that he's sitting in front of an old laptop with a headphone speaking through to you through an AIM. So as his voice cracks and static interrupts, and it's a little bit annoying, but it's more absolutely so scorching. The fact that you have a kindred of almost immeasurable potential power talking to you via an AIM messenger. He is literally using a chat app to speak with you. You've reached me. How can I help?
The job is complete.
Good. Anything I should know? I don't trust that doctor. The kindred are not very nice. They don't help people, yet that doctor helps people. They're sneaky. Sneaky is always a problem.
Nothing worth noting.
So yes, something. Just not worth my time. What do you think not worth my time?
Oh, just some people I met that I don't think I would waste your time with.
People? Why are you hanging around with humans? Humans are not worth my time. While we all start somewhere and at some point we were all human. Those days are long gone for some of us. For you, not so much, but still very... Why bother? Which humans? Were they cute? Were they tasty? Were they interesting enough that perhaps I need to have access to their vitae?
No, they were simply there.
There? You mean at tasting shop? Of course, there are humans to sample. I was sure that you would find the dancer very interesting. She was a new catch, but she takes to the blood giving very easily. Especially with a little opioids. Did you notice the taste? The mild baby problem taste behind it all.
Yeah.
You did. I knew you would enjoy it. I knew Driver's crazy in Las Vegas. So you like the opioids. I have several other vintages. That's how they say it. Yes, vintages. I have several other vintages of opioid addicts that will work very, very well with you. I will give you some for tip. We'll have drought or two, you prefer.
Doesn't particularly matter to me.
This is of no value to you.
I simply don't have a preference for one or the other. The fact that you're offering this at all is very generous of you.
You have impeccable manners. Now tell your sire I'm very good with how they've broken you. This part will you in call?
Of course. Thank you for your time.
Da.
So glad Fancy did not overhear that.
While you allow Miss Noir to take care of business, what is it that you and Martha are doing?
I would be checking in on all the preparations and seeing how construction is going, doing business shit. Basically, wondering why shit's a little bit off for some reason, or why I'm feeling a little strange while I'm trying to get things done.
And Martha?
That's a good question. I might actually go be a doctor for a minute and play around in the clinic for a little bit before sunrise hits. if there's nothing pressing going on.
You will wrap your evenings as comfortably as you are able. Each of you falling back to old habits or small touches of comfort, some small sense of normalcy. As the world spirals as it always does, as time does what time does, stealing moments and rushing you headlong towards a place where you will never reach. The problem on several levels, but one that is consistently ignored. Because while everyone knows that tomorrow's going to happen, even if you're not there for it, everyone understands that tomorrow will be better than today. Everyone believes and counts on, if it didn't work yesterday and didn't work today, tomorrow will be different. The only problem with that philosophy, the only problem with that outlook is that while everyone places their hopes, their dreams, their fantasies on tomorrow, tomorrow is not real. You will never ever be in tomorrow. You will never reach there. It's a goal that is constantly expanding outward away from you. By the time you reach tomorrow, it means it's today. And you've wasted a day in hope and counting on fantasy. You're reaching for the ineffable, invisible, potent promise of the future without ever having a chance to get there. Hanging all of your dreams on tomorrow means that you're hanging them on air. The idea of air. So you cling to that hope of tomorrow while squandering tonight, while squandering today, while not appreciating the highs, the lows, the absolute devastations that are happening presently. And much like mankind, the kindred do the same. So as you all wrap your evenings, and you prepare as best as you can to deal with whatever day was, whatever tomorrow promises to be, whatever today will be when you reach it. Each of you all be so kind, Fancy, Martha, in your particular sphere. Business, of course, a combination of leadership and finance. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma and leadership, Fancy? And would you be so kind as to roll your intelligence and medicine, Martha?
All right. Let's see.
I'm trying to roll, but Discord is giving me a problem.
Discord, unfortunately, being Discord, I do apologize on Discord's behalf. Vanessa was giving issues to Martha, kicking them up until recently. So, we will, based on Martha's role, use that as our standard. Martha's role and Celeste's conversation with Adut, dancing around the razors in his smile. You will manage to successfully and skillfully end your evenings. The question standing presently is, Celeste, would you take the offer of hospitality or would you risk the sun?
I will stay at the hotel.
Oh. You want to increase your hunger by 1. We're not going to bother with rolling for awaken. You have a full standard of willpower. If you have less than 3 wounds, superficial health losses, you can ignore them and set everything back to 0. Because just like that, just a blink of an eye, snap, 1 second disappearing into the next. You exit night with the rising of the sun and enter back into the night. Kindred don't get tired, they don't get lethargy. They die for the day and then are resurrected as their soul returns to their body from wherever it is out there in the ether. From wherever the animating force that powers the kindred goes during the day. When they die, it just as quickly returns. And so night has threatened, has arrived, has fallen across the land, and Las Vegas is once more a gleaming jewel, a earthbound star in the heart of a desert. The scorching temperatures of the day fading away by the second. The cooling welcome of night in the desert rushing towards you all. One more night gone, one more day disappeared, and one more epoch of time closer to the Garusian. You all awaken for the evening. Gathering as you are wont to do, the beast crawling around the edges of your vision, the beast whispering sweet nothings in your ear, and the voices of loved ones, enemies, respected personages, and all. Where do you all gather for the evening?
Fancy doesn't trust the office that Eugene walked into last time anymore. As wont to do, since she's the owner, she picks another office. Kicks the people out of that office, sends them to the old office, and that is her new office.
So you guys find yourselves in housekeeping, past the huge industrial washing machines and dryers, past all of the tiles stacked high enough that they stand nearly at eyebrow level or higher, and past all of the uniforms hanging and drying because you don't want to waste the energy to put them to the dryer so consistently, past all of the cleaning chemicals and various axes and putties and hammers and wrenches and brooms and all of the tools that housekeeping and maintenance use throughout the course of their duties. Find yourself in the housekeeping maintenance office at the back of all of their used space. Sounds of the washer going clearly imbalanced and rocking back and forth, butting the machines to the left and right of it. The smell of freshly dried cotton and terry cloth. the perfume and incense filling the space. Here you all are.
Well, good evening, ladies.
Nice digs.
Well, I don't trust that Jane hasn't bugged the old office, seeing as how he's walking around with fucking listening devices.
Well,
So,
anyway.
has
So
Ryan
what are...
contacted anybody?
I haven't heard from him in a little bit.
I'll reach out to him tonight. What were you going to say?
No, just what are the plans? I mean, you're the one who's got this. You're the one who's got the Garuja to get together.
I don't know if I remember correctly, but the dude expected us again this evening so that we could talk terms. But that's probably the plan. We should figure out what our terms are before we go there so that we're not scrambling for answers. I know he's not going to let us have very much. So what is the most important in this situation for each of us? And what are we willing to be flexible on when we go to see him?
Well, I think I made a general outline of an accord with him. I care about keeping the clinic open, and he seemed to be amenable to that if I used it as a supply route for him, which isn't ideal, but lesser evils and all that.
That's a good point. While we were talking about functionality of said spaces in the hotel, and we are in the current process of building and adjusting spaces for the Garuja, now would be the time to decide whether or not we want to give you your own space for a specific clinic and not just hide it in the hotel, or make it less hidden in the hotel but still under the protection of and usage of the hotel.
Well, I mean, I don't really run it, but I suppose I'm kind of the financial backer now, so I mean, getting our own space would be great, but there's reasons we haven't done that. It's not financially feasible for us right now.
But the point I'm making is, if we're going to knock down walls and make space for something, now is the time to do that. We can write it into the plans. We can turn what used to be the old spa space, or one of the old spa spaces, into a miniature clinic. With very little financial change.
I mean, it would be nice.
Okay, I guess I will count that as a yes. And I'll get right on that before we leave. Now, basically, what we are hoping is that he will stop. After the Garuja, our business will mostly be concluded, and we'll part as friends. That's what I'm hoping for. That's probably incredibly naive and stupid of me to hope that's the way things are going to go. I'm sure. Because he sounds like he has designs on what
Well,
happened after the Garusha, and that he still wants to have his fingers in the pie that is this hotel.
I mean, apart from anything else, one of our goals should be to get out of this crushing debt we're under. I mean, if we're going to be
That
screwed, we might as well for it.
he wants to take over our debt so that we owe him even deeper, but don't have to pay back the human loan sharks.
I mean, it's not ideal, but if he's strong-arming his way into taking over, he might as well take over the VIG, too.
Okay,
The
fine.
last.
Are we offering him that VIG? Making that one of our stipulations? That fine, you can take over the VIG and we'll owe you, but what? Because that's literally putting our neck on the chopping block to me. But again, you seem to understand him a lot more than I do, so maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think I understand him at all. I think he's someone who's more in touch with their bestial nature than others. That's part of what it means to be kindred, is there's always that voice telling us we could get everything we want and all we have to do is take it. And I think he listens to that all the time.
Probably right. I look towards the left. Plus, you know the man. At least maybe a little more than we do, or are you newly in his employ? What do you
Well,
think?
he contacted me.
Hmm.
The first I've heard of this man, at least fully dealing with him, was last night. So I know
you've only worked with
very
him
little more than you do.
Oh, okay. So you've only worked with him piecemeal up into here. But from getting to know what you know of him last night, would owing him more be smart or not smart?
I think no matter what we're due, we are some level of screwed. And he clearly wants us to do what he asks. And considering what he knows and what he may find out, it would be in our best interest to play along for now.
There's someone whose advice you could seek out about this. Have you talked to your significant other lately, Fancy?
He's all but gone on the lam, especially after what happened in the hotel that night. He can only speak to me in brief moments of respite, though you're right, I probably should let him know that Vladatel has all but lassoed me and pulled me in. That is a good point. So before we go out tonight, I will reach out to him, and we should probably not keep the dude waiting much longer. I was hoping some of the others would show up. They have not. I think Eugene is supposed to be coming to pick us up, if I remember correctly. So, with that being said, I should probably change clothes and be ready to go.
There's that aphorism. Or a prayer for some. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. And so as you all conclude your game planning section, as you conclude your impromptu meeting, as you conclude the burgeoning standard of you all communicating clearly and directly with one another, and are leaving the maintenance and housekeeping section of the hotel, you all stumble into the path of directly across Eugene traipsing through the hotel, clearly looking for you all. Oh, there you go.
Hey, Eugene. How's it going?
Really, really well. I think we got a meeting we should get to. You guys want to talk about it before we get there? I think that we should probably have a game plan going into this. He says,
No, we're good.
No, I really think that we should probably talk about it, considering that Vladatel doesn't play in any of those sorts of games, and even though he plays those sorts of games, he's also not everyone's favorite person.
You know, he's a complicated guy, and I don't think anyone understands him but his woman.
That is a great idea. We need to get one of you, or all of you guys, to be considered his favorite persons to spend time with. You all could be his woman. That way we have the inside track on him. And we definitely need the inside track quicker than later. But if you guys don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. I completely understand. Communication isn't for everybody. So you guys are ready? Come on.
What do you think we need? I mean, what do you think we need to talk about?
He looks over his shoulder, left and right, making sure you guys have the hallway to yourself. Yeah. That's what I mean. And the fact that we need to get many people who are in his circle, or his thumb, or under his boot, as far from him as possible. Because shit's going to hit the fan, and I'll probably hit the fan during or just after the Garushan. That's what I mean. But you know, I'm not the one going to be losing any money over this. I'm working on making sure my people are safe as possible. So if you guys don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. I understand. I completely understand. You guys don't like to communicate. It's fine. I mean, like, we should be talking now, but you guys are running around here, what, getting extra tiles for yourself?
We're talking about reconstruction plans. Anyway. Have you met with Primogen lately?
Me? Primogen? Not ever, not so much. Especially being as our little adventure down to Prim cost us so dearly. Our best friend and confidant and group leader being taken in by those damnable pirates and ruffians and hooligans down in Prim. We're without a leader, so I understand that you all want to select me and choose me for our leader, but I think that we should maybe choose Ryan. You know, we need a good, strong guy because we saw what happened with our last leader. Right, Fancy?
Fancy has this kind of slow. She's slow. That's not cat slow blink like I love you, but slow blink like I don't believe you're actually bullshitting me like you are right now. She just kind of blinks at him. Sure. I have a phone call to make. I'll meet you in the car.
Speaking of Ryan Yuji, did you ever get in touch with him?
Yeah, a couple of days ago. Or longer. I forget. I've been busy. You know, this money's not gonna make itself.
Yeah, you're always.
And who are you? And he looked pointedly at Celeste as he asked, and who are you?
One of a dude's girls.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. And as he says, I can see that, it is 21 after the hour. Let's take a quick 10 here. Be back at 31 after and hit the ground running. Okay, guys? Ahoy, ahoy. Time.
Did you check your text messages?
Hold on a second. Let's get to the phone.
Yeah.
Welcome back. All right.
Over here about to get somebody cuffed out.
Yeah. Well, you know, I go wandering from time to time. I try to keep it close to home, but sometimes I can range and roam. And welcome back, everybody. Celeste, are you with us?
Yep.
Yay! So we're all back. And as we dive into the mind of these characters and the moments of these characters, a lot has happened in a few seconds. A lot has transpired. A lot of information has been traded backwards and forwards, and there's still the opportunity of a plan that could be in the offing versus what everyone believes and the expectations therein. Everyone having such a high wit and high intelligence, well, average to high, there are certain things that become evident in Eugene's behavior. His joking, uncaring facade is just that, a facade. He has all the telltale signs of a person working under stress. He has all the telltale signs of someone who is saying all the things they don't actually mean. There are clear and present signs of deceit and ulterior motives all about him. As in, he's attempting to double speak, to honestly reveal while maintaining a deception for others' perusal, for others' perception. It's as if while he is here with you all, visible to you all, as if he is simply a doorway, a gateway to someone or some things that are not, in fact. There also becomes the clear and present factor that you all are playing in someone else's game. You all are privy to and pawns to and pieces for someone else's, for lack of a better word, fuckery. So as Eugene points you all and begins to bodily guide you all out of the building, is there anything that you all are attempting to discuss or anything you all are attempting to do?
Fancy had that phone call to Luca, even just to touch base, and even if she knows that he won't necessarily be there to really chat with her, she's going to, in as much shorthand as possible, tell him what's up with the adult situation and that Eugene has been flipped and some other stuff, just to make sure that he is aware of what's all going on and that she's doing her best to handle it. She's not asking him to come help her. She's just trying to let him know what's going on so that he's not blindsided by anything else. But if there is any advice he possibly could give, that she's willing to listen.
Okay. So let's see what fate has decided. So guys, go ahead and roll your charisma plus persuasion. As high as you possibly can.
Pitiful.
So, fate, like every other organization that you've dealt with, Fancy, over the course of your life and long into your undeath, fate, like every other entity, has fucking let you down. There is a system in place for you to be able to reach out. There's a system in place for you to be able to contact, engage with, and in a pinch, get direct word to. So as you pass the first hurdle, and you round the corner on the second, as you, from number to number being connected at a distance, are pushing to make contact, to pass message, to get direct contact to the heir apparent to the Hakata, specifically the Giovanni of Las Vegas. Specifically, Luca, your Luca, who has spent nearly 100 years plotting, planning, and maneuvering to avenge what he lost, what you all didn't have the opportunity of sharing, and to balance the scale, to get your pound of flesh. Nearly a century in the offing. Not quite a century, because 70 years is not really a century, but it's close enough to taste. And saying 7 decades somehow derives and pulls some of the actual weight of it. Because there are 52 weeks in a year. In years in a decade. There are 10 decades in a century. But at the present rate, what you know that he's done, what you know that he's put himself to, equates to 3,640 weeks. It equates to 25,480 days. It equates to 611,520 hours of dedicated focus on you and your happiness and making sure that he avenged the wrong that you all suffered. And as you round that second connection point, as you close in on the opportunity of even just temporarily for a moment being able to speak with Luca, your heart breaks. You hear "This is Max. Go ahead."
I'm aware of who Max is. I'm pretty sure. Max
You are?
is not the werewolf. The other member of the Hakata that I am.
Yes. Yes, Max Castiglione, the bastard rogue black sheep of the Castiglione family. They control predominantly in the entirety of the Midwest. They control predominantly from the Gulf of Mexico all the way into Canada. They just about control the complete flow and run of the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes. They control so very much of America's food basket. They control so very much of the same in regards to the kindred community. They typically run and operate juice shops. They typically run and operate connection points for the circulatory system. They typically run and operate processing plants where humans, and occasionally some kindred, are ground, smashed, cut, and butchered into palatable portions for consumption. Max has been a problem solver for the Hakata at large for decades, trading off their name Max, not their name Maxine Castiglione. They've done everything they can to distance themselves from their direct family, while establishing themselves within the framework of the Hakata at large. However, their name, Stickleon, carries weight and, in more than a few circles, shame. Everyone knows that Wojcik Stickleon, for all of the power that he had amassed, was a bastard, an offshoot, a lesser cousin to the fucking Putinescas. Then again, so by extension, is Luca. So by extension is Luca's father, Dante. And yet, there's a lot that can be done by simply changing your name, by being absorbed into a larger family. Just like Shlomo, the absolute Don of Dons for Las Vegas. Shlomo Rothstein, i.e. the Putinesca, the head of the Giovanni, the Hakata in Las Vegas. The person responsible for Luca for all of his years of service not actually receiving the kiss, but not becoming a made man, not specifically. He is a made man. He has all of the respect and earnings and extensions of being a capo for organized crime. However, as far as the family is concerned, as far as the Hakata are concerned, he's not a made man because he is still alive. And even with all of that weight, even with all of that shame, he has managed to focus, to bottle lightning, and create a plan to engage an operation that has already paid dividends. Chris Benedict's right-hand man, the real prince of Las Vegas, Montrose, is no longer a factor in anyone's consideration because of his actions, because of your actions. So as you reach out, and Max answers, it's a fear. There's a weight, there's a pressure. You don't need to breathe, but yet it feels as if you can't get air. You no longer eat or drink, and yet there are butterflies in your stomach. You no longer have the circulation, the ebb and flow of blood throughout your body, yet it feels as if pressure is building, as if a migraine is threatening because of your heightened blood pressure. And you hear her voice. Hello? Hello? Look, we can't be playing these games. Is there anyone there?
I was hoping that. Sorry, this is fancy. I had some stuff going on, and I'm just checking in after that whole incident the other evening, and to yeah, sorry, I'm just going through it right now. I lost somebody important to me.
We're losing lots of people because of what happened at the Black Dog. I guess that's the reason why you're calling our emergency line. Where are you at right now, Fancy? We've been by your dance studio.
About to head to a meeting with the Russian.
Where?
He didn't tell me. He told me he would send somebody to pick me up. And then we're gonna go there, and then we're gonna talk. I'm sure you understand what that means. and why I'd be calling the emergency line to make sure that somebody knows where the fuck I'm gonna be if I don't show back up after this.
Let's do it this way. I'm gonna tell you something that I've not told anybody else. Ever. When my father denied my existence because he was hoping that I'd come out, that I'd enter the world, aiming with a face and a body light enough to pass. Just like Johnny Cash's first wife. Just like, well, the former first lady. Light enough to pass as Italian. When that didn't happen and he abandoned me, I spent the entirety of my first wasn't stupid enough to believe that I could ever earn his love. If I could be recognized, that would make all the difference in the world. That never happened. Even my death into was a spiteful thing. And I've never told anybody exactly when I entered into the Puttanesca. Let's just say my sire didn't have a choice. I was so determined to be recognized by my father for things. I know what you're thinking. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because your legend, you were supposed to be the first non-Italian Puttanesca. You were supposed to be everything I wanted to be. A respected member of the Giovanni. So I get your pain. I understand loss. I also know, and you should too, that if you call this number again, whenever you call this number again, we will trace this number to wherever you are and obliterate, decimate every kindred that is not Giovanni, every kindred that is not Puttanesca. You are not part of the family as much as you were supposed to be, Fancy. So, from me to you, keep in mind, you are never to call this number again unless you want every being, wherever you are, destroyed. Making myself clear.
Well, my heart, because she realizes the gift and the curse that this is now. Crystal clear. And hangs up. Straightening her coat. And her beast raging at her inside. Because now she doesn't even know whether Luke is alive still. She's hoping. But the fact that Max answered, and this was an emergency line, has made her worry again. So, with that in mind, she slips the phone back away, straightens her coat, stops the tears cold that are threatening to spill, and heads for the car.
While Fancy was inside. Now, Celeste, you're normally the driver. That's your thing. That is your life's avocation. And Martha, you're normally the woman with a plan. You're normally the kindred that has a clear grasp on yourself. The world around you is typically going absolutely mad, absolutely insane, yet you're usually the calm center of the storm. It's, yeah, well, we'll deal with it. It's not the greatest of things, but we'll deal with it. You're normally not affected by the insanity of the world around you. Yet as you all sit here with Eugene in the insanity of now, of what this is, he is singing along to Al Green, calmly in the center of this maelstrom. You are on your way to an unknown location to speak with a Russian oligarch on American soil who has involved himself with every facet of criminality. He has broken the laws of man and kindred and all steps in between. And you are being taken to his secret facility, wherever that is. Instead of respecting that insanity, instead of understanding and treating it for what it is, Eugene is singing to Al Green. His voice is deep enough that should not be an option. But as he sits there, spending my day, there's no way to keep the insanity from touching you. There's no way to keep the discomfort from touching you, Celeste. Because you're not behind the wheel. And Martha, you're not the center of get through it. Because it doesn't make sense, and it's even more insane by the fact that he is still sitting there with his deeper voice singing Al Green. Being near to you, and explain much. And he's going on and on.
Hey, driver, you got like a tuner up there or MP3 player or something?
Yeah. That's what we're playing. I found one of my old Zunes, and so Al Green is going to be the soundtrack to our evening.
Cool. It's kind of in the mood for some Dragon Force.
I don't think he sung that. I can look and see if he has a song, if he's done a cover. What's the name of the Dragon Force? And Eugene literally starts thumbing through his Zune to find Al Green covers as he still continues singing the song that only he can hear because he has his headphone in.
It is going to be one of those nights.
Celeste, most people wouldn't bother or be bothered by a person with a headphone in. but he's attempting or preparing to drive you all through Las Vegas evening traffic with a headphone in. It is driving you absolutely batty. It is akin to someone trying to lift you up with one leg on a rocking chair over a chasm in a windstorm. Being occupied in Las Vegas traffic typically means that you will die in Las Vegas traffic. And Eugene is the driver who is occupied.
If we die in a car crash, I would like it stated I was not the driver.
You don't have to be so worried. I'll get us there. Relax. It's not my car, so I'll be extraordinarily careful. I'm not going to even scratch the paint too much.
As a coping mechanism, I pull out my cell phone and I'm going to try to call Ryan.
Well, you know what they say. Nothing beats a failure but a try.
When
There's
Fancy got in the car, she hit her upset, but at the same time, she's very quiet. But the only thing she says to Celeste, Martha, kind of leans in. If all else fails, I have a backup plan. And then that's it.
Is this one of those plans that I believe is colloquially called a golf plan?
No, this is.
We got
the
a plan?
world. I look at Eugene and give fix him with a look, but I kind of look at the others. This is the world is burning around us. We have no other way out plan.
Off is a military acronym I picked up somewhere. It means go to hell plan. It's when everything is fucked and you're all going to die anyway. You might as well take as many of them with you as possible.
Oh, yeah, in that case, very much that. This is very much. I thought you meant like the weird dressed people with all black, real pale faces. I like some of their clothes, but I don't understand it. I really don't.
You don't understand it, Fancy, because you don't have your thighs aren't big enough to be a healthy golf, to be a real golf. You gotta have like watermelon crushing thighs, and you gotta wear short black skirt. And you gotta be really, really pale, and you don't have melon crushing thighs, and you're not really, really pale.
I bet you, though, if I really tried and you put your head between my thighs, I could crush the melon that is your head.
So you thought about my head between your thighs too. Nice, that makes two of us. And he takes off. So look, I know you guys are upset about me having to let the Tremere know, but you all have been there. We've been through so much. I knew you would understand. I know you're gonna be upset for a couple of little whiles, but I had to. You guys understand that, right?
not letting you out of this. I'm just saying. I get what you're saying, and I hear you. But at the same exact fucking time, snitches get fucking stitches.
Well, I pointed them in the right direction. They know that you guys are too stupid to be responsible for what happened to the black dog. And I did tell them that it was all Anastasia. So, and she had a cabal of friends and associates that she was in cahoots with. That her and the immortal and whoever was responsible for them was behind it. So they set a trap so that whoever went to try to save her or take her body out or do anything with her would be the people that they would be looking for. Which is smart. I got them off of you guys. I got them off of us.
I look at Martha.
I mean, yeah, I mean, illegally firing somebody like that's some fucked up shit.
Is, but luckily you guys didn't get caught up in their sting, and I couldn't tell you all of the plans because I need to make it seem believable, so that when they caught whoever was responsible for Anastasia, we'd be in the clear. My plan worked. The trap worked. We don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're upset by the way that I had to do it, but if I told you what was going on, you all would probably spend 40 minutes complaining and not getting anything done.
I mean, I'm neck deep in the pyramid nonsense. I get what they're like.
Plus, if we're lucky, whoever was stupid enough, because I put the feelers out also, just so that you guys are aware. I don't want you to think that I only had one plan in action. It's the reason why I need to collect as much money as possible. I also make sure that they are looking, or we're looking at our former coterie member and their property, because I believe that I'm put it out there that whoever they were, was responsible for all of the missing information about Kindred. So they're looking at every pawn shop and pawn shop owner that happens to be Kindred as well. So we're in the clear.
Didn't we know one of those who went missing a while ago under mysterious circumstances I don't really know anything about?
Right, we knew them, but we didn't know them like that. And plus, none of us are involved in bail bondsman or pawn shop or, trading information, so we don't have anything to worry about. No one's gonna be looking at us.
Fancy's rubbing her temples super fast. We Did you forget that there is somebody that we care somewhat fairly much about that does in fact own a pawn shop and is a bail bondsman?
Oh, she's dead.
She is. He's not.
Wait. Are you saying that Ryan has a pawn shop?
Pretty sure you know that because we've been there multiple fucking times.
No, I thought he ran a resale. I thought he was a flea market. What the fuck? Oh my god. I really thought that was a flea market. All that cheap silver and gold and stacked in drawers, that's like flea market Chicago town bullshit. And he knows Deli Slice. And Deli Slice is, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying like I'm the richest Kindred around, but Deli Slice is poor. A poor person wouldn't go to a pawn shop. A poor person goes to a flea market. And that's what I thought Brian had, especially, with his mom being a whore.
That
Mhm.
makes me mad. That makes me legit mad, and I punch the shit out of the back of his neck.
Here we go. The last.
Yes.
You've been hanging on to this roller coaster with all due strength in your body. You have been hyper aware and vigilant as he's only one-handing the steering wheel. His arm is over the back of the seat, and he's all but turning around talking to the two kindred behind you in the back seat of the fucking car. He is driving as if he has promised to never see tomorrow night. You've been hanging on like for dear life. And when he verbally steps over the line, you see it as if you could read the tea leaves of the future, as if it is foregone. You have one action, you have one opportunity. Let's see, can you do it? Do you manage to reach across and right the steering wheel, snatching it out of his hands so that he doesn't, in response to the blow that nearly crushes the back of his skull, with how fast and strong that is delivered, drive you all into the opposite facing? Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity and drive as high as you can. Is that your final roll? Because you can't click the reroll failures button.
Nope, I'm keeping the roll.
Okay. So, out of the 4 of you all in the vehicle and the body in the trunk, which 2, not counting the body in the trunk, will receive the damage of the crash? Celeste, there are you, Eugene, Martha, and Fancy.
Well, I definitely Eugene is one of them.
So as you snatch the wheel and you keep you all from running headlong into the delivery truck, the 2, 4, 6, 8, the 10-wheeler, the huge back where, convention stands are usually stored, or people are moving restaurants. It's that sort of delivery truck. You keep you all from crashing directly headlong into it. But in snatching the wheel back, the car goes up on 2 wheels, turning back into the lane of travel. In doing so, you clip the car that was trying to speed around you. You go counterwalling, spinning come to us quickly and suddenly as leaping off of the Empire State Building. Guardrail expands out. Force of your impact is enough to keep it permanently expanded out. The force of your impact is enough to send one or both of you all through the front windshield. The caterwauling that the vehicle did, screaming as engine revving as you were spinning across the road, is enough to have what little blood flow you have moving through your body pool in the center of your being as if you were in a centrifuge. So you get to decide which two take the damage, which two are flung free of the vehicle relatively safe. Shards of glass aside, rough tumbling impact aside, you all are dead. Those sorts of impacts don't really amount to much. However, the compacting of the steel around you, sending it piercing through the flesh, that does. So which two, Celeste?
Choose to save Martha and Fancy.
Nice. As a squishy wizard, I appreciate it.
You're not sure where you got the strength. You're not sure where you found the courage. Because it is a courageous thing. In taking the hit for someone else. There's a courageous thing in standing in front of the pain and knowing that it's going to suck, but that you are doing it for a cause that matters. Scientists have always wondered where that self-sacrifice gene came from, because there's an imperative biologically for us to pass down the information of what we are, procreate, and send ourselves genetically forward in time. And self-sacrifice would normally mean just the opposite of it. Your line ends with you. Your future ceases to be. You will not be part of someone else's genetic memory. Yet, it persists throughout human evolution, through human society, in smaller numbers than it once did, but it still is there. There is a bravery inherent. And as the fabricated steel slices through arteries, as the glass shards embed themselves in the solidity of your flesh, as the world explodes in pain, you ask yourself that exact same question. Where did it come from? And as you look to your left and you realize that in the crash, you somehow shoving the back seat out, somehow getting the door open. You're not sure whether you hit the lock and the doors went flying open. You're not sure. You know what you had intended to do, and you intended to escape yourself, but if it was them or you and you or them, it's definitely letting them get the fuck out of Dodge. So as you sit there, the world suddenly coming back into focus, the sound slowly picking up as cars are driving by. Some are skidding to a stop. Others, and it's a madhouse. People are screaming and garbled, almost English, almost Spanish, almost Italian. Their words are rushing together. People are pulling out their phones, and for the first time in a very long time, they're not pulling out their phones to take video. They're pulling out their phones to call 911, to call their cousin who had a tow truck, to call their mom to come help. People are actually attempting to do the just thing. And as you look to your left, you realize that the steel that sliced through your flesh, the glass that abraded it, the crumpled zones on the car that did their job and minimized the direct force, well, the driver wasn't so fucking lucky. The steering wheel came off, embedding itself at least an eighth of an inch deep into his chest, crushing his ribs and his shattering his clavicle. And the earpiece, which he had in one ear, as he was turning his other ear to hear what was going on in the back seat and looking over as he got hit and popped as his head rocked and causing his arm to, well, do things that arms shouldn't do when attached to steering wheels. You're sure that the torpor that he's in doesn't make this any easier. Because he's hearing the same amount of chaos and foolishness around you all, knowing that any kindred who is taken by the police or the fire department to a hospital, there's no way for them to pass the tests, the battery of blood draws, the treatment of trauma. There's no way for them to pass well enough to ever not be outed as kindred. As you're pondering that, Celeste, the world explodes in pain and light and sound. It spins end over end, and you find yourselves outside of the car, 15 and 20 feet from where you see Celeste slowly beginning to move, and Jean clearly in torpor in the crashed, mangled body of the car you all were just in. Martha, what do you guys do?
Well, I guess it's time to play doctor. So I go to Eugene, and as subtly as I can, since I can tell he's in torpor from here, I give him a point of blood.
Okay. That will definitely be a roll for sure. And Fancy.
Well, I'm obviously mad at myself that I let my anger get the better of me and cause this accident. But that's neither here nor there. We need to get the fuck out of here. So I pull myself together the best that I can, and I take it the car is no longer drivable.
Celeste is still inside the vehicle.
I go to get her out. I go to help get her out, and we have to go. We can't be here when the cops get here. Do we?
No
We
kidding.
don't know about the body in the trunk, right?
No, you don't.
No, but
It will all come down to Martha. Would you be so kind? One, you're gonna make 2 rolls for me. First of which is going to be your dexterity in medicine, and the second, which is going to be your hunger roll. You're gonna rouse, and we're gonna see what the results are. Whether fate lends a hand to allow you all to escape soundly and quickly without drawing too much attention in what you're doing, and if not, well, we'll burn that bridge when we stand upon it. Well, that roll is done. Well now, 2 out of 3 successes needed. There is a phrase that is tossed off every once in a while, and it boils down to a day late and a dollar short. Not quite a full day in Martha's case, but close enough to count. And with that understanding of the chaos that's happening around you, as Fancy's trying to steal Celeste out of the vehicle, and as Martha's feeding furiously Vitae into Eugene's corporate form, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. I'll see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
All right. It was
Yeah,
definitely a
I really.
session.